Someone once told me that in France, you can be as rich as you want. You can be super wealthy, nice watch, nice car, nice house. It doesn't mean anything if you're not cultivated and you don't have general knowledge. So YouTube, I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome back to my channel, or if it's your first time here, hello, my name is Rosie. I'm a New Zealander living in France, and I'm here to do another video on some French culture shocks, which are some of my favorite videos to do. At least once a week I have a thought that's like, oh, that's funny, or oh, that's interesting, and I hope it doesn't stop because it's kind of part of the fun. And so although I am becoming more and more French, and I have done a video on that, there are still things that surprise me. Without further ado, I suggest we get right into it. Something that really shocks me about France is the concept of internet banking here. I don't believe it exists, and I'm gonna explain why. When I pay for things on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the transactions don't show up on my account until maybe like Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. For me, this means that my internet banking has shut down for the weekend. I have found it really funny, the internet banking in France. For example, if I want to add someone that I would like to pay with my own money, I have to sometimes wait 24, 48 hours for the bank to accept that request so I can finally pay these people. But hey, maybe it's just me, maybe it's just my bank and my partner's bank, maybe we are with quite old traditional French banks. Now, I don't want to name and shame them because that's not really fair, but if this is not the case for you and you have a banking system that works perfectly fine and your transactions on your internet banking are live, so your money goes out and your balance updates live, please let me know down below and I will investigate those banks. Okay guys, for this one, maybe it's just my partner and his family, I'm not really sure, but I've noticed in France that we never sleep with a top sheet. For me, a normal bed setup is mattress protector, bottom fitted sheet, and then on top of that you've got your top sheet, and then on top of that you've got your duvet cover and the things and blankets and things that keep you warm. So you've got a protective layer between your body and the duvet cover. It's more for cleanliness, I think, than for comfort. But in France, I haven't seen much of these top sheets around, and it's kind of funny. I don't know where they've disappeared to. They do sell them in stores, but I just very rarely see them, at least in my version of France. So can you let me know if you're French down below? Do you have top sheet or no top sheet? And then if you have no top sheet, isn't it annoying having to wash the duvet cover like every single week? Or maybe it's just the same as washing the top sheet, I guess, but yeah. Anyway, let me know. Now, as some of you guys know, if you've been following me on Instagram and if you've seen the video that I made on 2 perfect days in Paris, I had my best friend come visit from New Zealand and it was amazing. But it was so funny seeing France again through her eyes because she just noticed all these kinds of things that I had kind of forgotten about. And one of the things she picked up on is that there are no customs in France. When you arrive in Paris Charles de Gaulle, it's so rare to actually have people checking what's in your bag. So on the other way around, in New Zealand, they're very strict about this. Like, you cannot bring, you know, shoes with any grass or mud on them into the country. You could get fined, they'll get thrown out. You cannot bring unopened food. You cannot bring so many things into New Zealand to protect the environment and the biodiversity. And in France, I remember like landing and getting my passport checked, and then I just walked through. I thought I had accidentally missed a part of the airport. I was so worried. Sort of like you get to the border and it's like, oh yeah, just bring it in. Whatever you have in your suitcase, it doesn't matter. Another thing she noticed that cracked me up is how much the French hate scaffolding, probably because it doesn't look very nice, agreed. But there are quite a lot of restoration projects that go on in summertime and here in Paris, and there's a lot of scaffolding that's needed, you know, on our monuments or on some random buildings. And what they do is they put this hilarious facade on top of the scaffolding, so it's kind of like, it's a painting that makes it look like it's a real building. And she thought that was hilarious, that it's kind of like this big scaffolding cover-up operation. I think it's fair that the French hate the look of scaffolding, but the lengths at which they go to cover it up is kind of funny. Okay, the next culture shock I want to talk about is this kind of national education around the harm that waves can do to your body, which is, I'm sure, absolutely true and absolutely grounded on science. But I've never met so many people, I mean collectively as a nation, that would agree that microwaves are bad for you, and to try and avoid using microwaves as much as possible, and not to stand too close to the microwave while it's on and that kind of thing. Same for cell phones. A real sort of consciousness around turning your phone completely off, or at least on airplane mode every night while you sleep, like, because it's just really bad to have the waves be next to you while you sleep. I think it's kind of linked to a wider thing actually around health and consciousness of these kinds of things. Like, there's a huge amount of French people that avoid deodorants, for example, because of the aluminium. There are a lot of homemade solutions to deodorants and this kind of thing. For us in New Zealand, of course, we have people that are concerned about those things, but they seem to have a very particular demographic. They're kind of like the labeled, I guess, like the hippie, eco-warrior kind of demographic, and they're the ones really starting the conversations about these kinds of things. And in France, I'd say it's probably quite general in the general population, although I may be wrong. Let me know what you guys think down below. Another culture shock is that coming to France, it's really hard to get a permanent work contract, even if, or especially if, maybe you're a master's graduate. I mean, they make you do like an internship, and then you'll have a fixed term contract, and then you'll have another fixed term contract. I mean, that's very, very normal before they actually offer you a full-time CDI, which is a permanent contract. And this is kind of understandable when you realize that when someone hires you, it's very, very difficult to get rid of you. So I can understand, I guess, from the employer's perspective. But on the flip side, in order to get an apartment, in order to get all sorts of very practical things in France, you need to have a permanent contract, or it's very preferable. And it's kind of like, once you land that permanent contract, you kind of like, it's a holy grail, and you kind of take it with both hands, and there's this like, I'll never let you go kind of mentality. I think because in New Zealand the job market's very healthy and active, very low unemployment, it seems to be a more dynamic market, I would say. Whereas here there's still a lot of belief around, oh, I should stay here for a while, and I should be in this one job for at least 3 years, and this kind of mentality, which kind of surprised me. It's all sort of linked to how difficult it is to get a permanent contract, I think. Another culture shock is around French TV, and the fact that in France there are so many documentaries and travel documentaries and reportage, as they call them, that are just aimed at improving the general knowledge of people. And I think that's excellent. I think the television industry in France is very impressive, and I couldn't believe how many emissions there are in France. It's just absolutely incredible. But something that's really funny is that every time I meet someone and I say that I'm from New Zealand, I get oh yeah, I've seen a documentary on New Zealand. Like, oh, I know New Zealand. I'm like, oh, have you been? Oh no, I've just seen several documentaries. And it's amazing how many things that people know about New Zealand. They've never stepped a foot in the country. So when they ask me for more facts, sometimes I'm like, I don't know, I haven't been watching documentaries on New Zealand. You know, I often get asked questions like, how high is your tallest mountain? And these kinds of things. I'm like, I don't know. Very fact-based. There's a huge quest, I find, for general knowledge and cultivation here in France. Someone once told me that in France, you can be as rich as you want. You can be super wealthy, nice watch, nice car, nice house. It doesn't mean anything if you're not cultivated and you don't have general knowledge. The next thing is around waiting for the bill in France. My gosh, waiting for the bill in France. I've found that you can wait easily 20 minutes from the moment you ask the waiter to bring the bill to your table and actually receiving it. I do believe there is an element of the waiters not wanting to rush you out the door kind of thing, but my friend noticed this and she was like, oh, you know, it's a bit of a waste of time. And I do agree with her. You know, she's like, okay, we've finished, we're ready to go now, we're ready to move on with our evenings, we've got things on. I can definitely empathize with that. I think it's incredible sometimes how long it takes just to get your bill. Like, all you want to do is pay them. You really have to be quite pushy sometimes and insist like 1, 2, 3 times in order to get it, you know, in less than 15 minutes. Only culture shock in France is that they will just like not hold back in telling you that you look really tired, that you look pale, that you look like there's something wrong with you. And they do it from a place of love, I'm sure, but they'll be like, ça va? Tu as des petits yeux? Like, are you okay? You've got small eyes. This is the phrase petits yeux cracks me up, small eyes. I find it funny because in New Zealand that may be a little bit offensive. Like if your colleague kept saying to you, you look really tired, are you okay? Are you sick? Like this kind of thing. But they're really doing it from a place of love, and you just have to get used to it. We're just like, actually no, I'm feeling absolutely fine. I just look like crap today. I hope you guys like these kinds of videos as much as I enjoy filming them. If you've experienced culture shocks yourself, no matter where you're from in the world, please let me know down below. I absolutely love hearing about them. If you like my video, please give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe so I can see you next video Wednesday. A bientôt!